Hi guys! Today I'm going to be showing you how to make this waffle bag. It is a little shoulder bag and you can easily adapt this pattern to make it into a bigger tote bag or like a pencil case or something like that. It utilizes the waffle stitch, which is actually just double crochets. So if you know how to do that, this should be fairly easy. I also have lined this bag, which is optional, but I do show you how I line the bag in the video. Let's get right on into it. So to make this waffle bag, you are going to need a 5mm hook, some yarn. I'm going to use this cream color again, and you'll need a tapestry needle and some scissors. So the first thing you need to do is determine how big you want your bag to be. For this bag, it has one waffle stitch on the sides. Now you could make this bag so that it lays flat and then the bottom doesn't have this flat part here. You could make it flat and then just sew the bottom. And I can show you how to do that when we get there, but you need to determine if you want it to have a boxy shape and how wide you want that to be. So this bag is 11 squares on both sides and then 1 square on the sides. So 11 plus 11 is 22, and then 23, 24. So then you're going to take the number of boxes that you want, multiply that by 3. And that is how long our chain is going to be. If you want to make a bigger waffle bag, if you want to make it like 20 waffles wide, then you would do 20 plus 20, and you would call it there. That's if you didn't want to have like a boxy shape. So that would be 40 times 3 makes 120. I think I'm going to make mine 12 squares with the 1 on the side. So 12 plus 12 is 24, plus 1, 25, plus 1, 26, times 3, which is 78. So that means I'm going to chain 78 stitches. First thing you're going to do is you need to make a slip knot. So to make your slip knot, you have a short side and you have your long side. Twist it towards the long side. Grab the short side, and there you have your slip knot. Put your hook in the hole, and we're going to chain, at least for me, I'm going to chain 78. So yarn over, pull through, and that is our chain. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so I have 78. Now what we need to do is we need to join this in a circle because we're going to work this in the round. So what I like to do is I like to put it so that the little fish tails are visible. Hold it there, drag my finger down, keep dragging it down, making sure not to twist it until I get to the end here, and then you can put the two good sides together, and then I'm going to put my hook through the top, grab my yarn, and then do a slip stitch to join in a circle. Then what you need to do is you need to check, make sure that your ring didn't twist. If it did, just take out that slip stitch and try again. So once you have it joined in around, you should be able to fold it in half, and that's roughly how wide your bag is going to be. So that's exactly what I want. So now what we're going to do is either you can chain 2 for a double crochet, or I'm going to make a chainless double crochet. So I'm going to chain 1, make my yarn a little bit longer, hold the top, wrap it around in front, holding it on top of my finger there, and I'm going to put my hook in the first stitch, pull up a loop through that little piece there, and then pull through 2. And it should look like a double crochet. You could do that as your double crochet, or I recently learned another new way to do a chainless double crochet. Single crochet in the first stitch, and then if you can see, here's the top of the single crochet. There's another little peg right beside it. You take your hook and you stick it through that, and you do another single crochet. And that leaves you with something about the same height as a double crochet. So you could do it that way, or you could just simply chain 2 if you want. I like the look of so you could chain 2. I'm going to do a chainless double crochet because that is my favorite. I think it hides the most that you aren't doing a regular double crochet. So after you do your first double crochet, chain 2 or a chainless double crochet, you need to double crochet in each stitch all the way around. So just to recap on a double crochet, you yarn over, insert your hook into the stitch, pull up a loop, you should have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and that's your double crochet. And you want to do that into the first little top loop of the teardrop, just the first string there, into the tops of each of those all the way around. And when you're back, you should have the same amount of chains. You should have the same amount of double crochets as you did chains. So I'm back to the beginning. I did all 78 of my double crochets, and I counted to make sure that that's how many I had. Now I'm going to slip stitch into the top of either your first chain 2 or your double crochet that you made. Alright, for the next round, this is going to be a part of the repeat. You're going to start off with either a chain 2 or a double crochet, chainless double crochet, into the first stitch here. Then in the next stitch, we're going to do what's called a back post double crochet. So you yarn over just as normal, but instead of going into the top 2 teardrops here, you're going to take your hook behind the work and around the double crochet so that you have just that double crochet, and then you continue on as normal. Pull through 2, pull through 2. So the double crochet is behind the teardrop, and that's what makes this little ridge line here. So we need to do that again. So yarn over. Sometimes it's hard to see what the next stitch is, but you can kind of see in the back here that this one is popping out a little bit, and it gets a lot easier to see as you go on, as it starts to take form. This first row is probably the hardest. So there's our first one, first stitch, second stitch. So our third back post is going to go around this double crochet. So yarn over, put your hook behind, around that stitch so that you've caught it, pull the yarn through, pull through 2, pull through 2. And you should have a little bit of a ridge. It's kind of tough to see at this point. For the next stitch, you're going to do a regular double crochet just into the top like normal. And you can kind of see the ridge. So you're going to repeat that 2 back post double crochets. For reference, this helps me. The double crochet, like I can see the double crochet here, the long post. The stitches that belong to the double crochet are shifted to the right. So like this double crochet, its teardrops are slightly to the right. So that kind of helps me sometimes. So the next stitch is right here, which means this is the teardrop. This is the double crochet that we're going to go behind and do our double crochet. And then as you can see, now it's really pulled back. You can definitely see that this is the next double crochet. And then here's the next double crochet, which means the next tier, the next space we go into is right here. Be careful that you don't go into one that's too early, because this belongs to the last stitch. This is the next double crochet, so this is the next stitch. So this is making the first half of the waffle. So what you need to do is continue that pattern all the way around, 2 back post double crochets, and then 1 regular. And that should take you all the way to the beginning, ending with 2 back post double crochets. I'm making my last back post double crochet, and you should be back to the beginning to either your chain 2 or your chainless double crochet, and you're just going to slip stitch to the top of that. Then what you should do is you should count in between the posts. So in between the posts is 1 waffle. So I counted and I just made sure that I had the same amount that I wanted at the beginning. So if you took the amount you chained, mine was 78 divided by 3 again. I wanted 26 waffles, so you should have 26 little spaces. So for the next round, same thing, you can either chain 2 or start off with a chainless double crochet, but this time when I do the chainless double crochet, I'm going to wrap it around that first stitch that we have popping out. Now if you've been doing chain 2s, you can ignore this and just do a regular chain 2, but this is just something I like to do to kind of make it look a little bit more seamless. So wrap around, insert into the first chainless double crochet that's directly below, and do what we call a front post double crochet. So that's where you reach your hook in the front, then you go behind the stitch. So the double crochet is sitting on your hook, and then you do your double crochet. So that makes it pop out. So either chain 2, nice and easy, or you can do the front post chainless double crochet. Then we're going to do 2 regular double crochets. Which should end up on our back posts from the last row. Then we're going to do a front post double crochet. So you should have this little protruding double crochet here. You're going to stick your hook from the front around it so that it sits on your hook, and then make a double crochet. And that makes the rest of the waffle there. So You're going to do that all the way around, 2 regular double crochets, and then a front post double crochet. And you can really start to see the waffle come into form. Alright, I have my last 2 regular double crochets. And then I'm going to slip stitch to the top of the first stitch. Basically, the rest of this is the same exact thing, repeating round 2 and round 3 until the end. So this next row is a repeat of round 2. I'm going to work through it with you, and then I'll cut you off loose. So starting off with a regular double crochet or a chainless double crochet, and then you've got 2 back post double crochets, which are a lot easier to see now. So you reach behind, grab the stitch, and there you go, and you'll do that twice. And then 1 regular double crochet, which goes directly on top of all of this protruding stuff. So that makes it a lot easier to see as well. So 2 back posts, and then 1 regular. And once again, you'll do that all the way around. Back to the beginning, I've got my 2 back posts, and then slip stitch. Once again, I'm going to do a chainless front post double crochet, and then 2 regulars, and then a front post in that first stitch below. 2 regular, front post, just catching the double crochet, 2 regular, front post, and you're just going to do that all the way around, and you can repeat rows 2 and row 3 all the way until you have as many rows as you want. So I'm probably going to do it a little bit taller than this one. I'm going to do about 16 more rows probably, and I will meet you back after that to show you how to do the strap, how to sew the bottom, and do all of that stuff. I have finally finished all of my rows, and I will tell you how many I did. So I did the initial first row of regular double crochets, and then each waffle is 2 rows, so 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, so 19 rows so far, and then I did half of a waffle. So I did a total of 20 rows, I did a total of 9 waffles, and then I did half a waffle at the top. And that differs from this bag, if you can tell at all. I ended on a whole waffle instead of half of a waffle, but so here's what they look like side by side. This bag I wanted to be a little bit bigger than this bag. Now what we need to do is we need to tie off our yarn. Once you're happy with how wide it is, how tall it is, all you need to do is finish that last row, chain 1, and cut your yarn. And here's the reason why I love chainless double crochet, is because you can hardly tell where the start and end of my round is. But if I spun it around and then showed you, I think it's pretty hard to tell where it is. I actually can't find it. Anyway, you didn't need to cut your yarn. If you did, it's fine, but I wish I wouldn't have because it wasn't necessary. So I'm going to put my join in the corner here, and I'm going to create a box like shape so that I have what we started with. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10. So I should have 12 on this side, 12 on this side, and then you should have 1 waffle on each side. There should be 4 stitches on your side here. Like I said, you did not have to cut your yarn. Wish I wouldn't have done that. But it's fine if you did cut your yarn, but we're just gonna go ahead and rejoin our yarn in the same stitch. So you should have your waffle on the side here. There should be the side of the waffle, the 2 middles, and then the other side of the waffle. So I'm gonna join right there, or you can just not cut your yarn and continue. So I'm going to be doing single crochets for the strap, and I'm just going to make it 4 single crochets wide. Actually, I'm going to be using half double crochets for the strap. So I'm going to yarn over, insert into the same stitch, pull my yarn through, should have 3 loops, and then pull through all 3. And I'm going to do that for the next 3 stitches. And 3. Then you're going to chain 1, turn your work, and half double crochet across those same 4 stitches. Then chain 1, turn your work, half double crochet across the next stitches. So you're just going to do that back and forth all the way until you have a strap as long as you want. I'm going to end up lining this bag, and I'm going to be putting a little bit of fabric on the strap and fabric on the inside so that my bag doesn't stretch when I use it. I recommend that you make your strap, if you're going to line it, make your strap exactly as long as you want it to be. If you are not going to line it, I recommend to make your strap shorter, like a kind of a lot shorter than what you want, because it will stretch when you put stuff in your bag. And you really don't want to make a shoulder bag and then it become like a crossbody bag because you didn't account for stretch. So here's the first one I made, and as is right now, it's okay. It's a pretty good length, I would say. But if I start putting stuff in the bag, it starts to get heavier and it stretches out a little bit more than I'd like it to. You need to account for stretch. That's my recommendation. So now all you need to do is just do your half double crochets back and forth until it loops around and it's as long as you'd like it to be. And then I will show you how to attach it and finish the bag. Hey. So I've made my entire strap as long as I want. And then what I'm going to do, since I'm lining it, this isn't quite enough to sew onto. So I'm going to go around the strap with a single crochet. So you don't have to do this. If you just want to leave the strap as is, you can chain 1, leave a tail for sewing, and cut your yarn. But if you do want to make the strap a little bit thicker, you're going to chain 1, and then in the sides you can see that there's these holes along the side. There aren't going to be definite stitches when you go along the side, but there should be spaces that you can stick your single crochet in. So just kind of do the best you can, placing a single crochet across the strap, and that's going to make it a little thicker. Like I said, this is optional, and also it doesn't have to be perfect with where you stick the single crochets. Just try and space them as evenly as you can across the side. This will also keep it from stretching a little bit less. Once you get to the end, back to the base of the bag, I'm going to slip stitch into where the strap joins the side here, and then I'm just going to cut the yarn. Now I just need to do that on the other side. So I'm going to join it at the bottom here and chain all the way up to the top of the strap. I'm going to join on the base of the bag, join my yarn there, and then I'm going to pull my yarn through but single crochet onto the strap, and that will make it not as bulky, because if you start on the strap and then you chain 1, it's gonna have like a weird space there. So join it on the bag and then single crochet onto the strap, then single crochet all the way down this side of the strap the same way that you did on the other side. Okay, so I'm approaching the end, and I'm going to slip stitch into the top here so I can kind of flatten out the strap, and then I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to cut my yarn and make sure to leave a tail so that I can sew the strap on to the opposite side. You need to get your tapestry needle and lay your bag down, lay your strap out, make sure it doesn't curve, and make sure you're joining at the correct side of the bag here. And you're going to line it up and sew the strap just kind of back and forth along the bag so that it looks how you like it. There's no really particular way you have to do this. I just weave it through back and forth. Trying to keep it flat, but so flip to the inside, and then you need to just weave in the ends behind some yarn a few times so that it's secure and then it doesn't come undone. I think that's good. I'm going to cut it. Make sure it looks good. Then I'm going to hide all of these ends the same way and then I'll meet you back. I hit all the ends at the top here, and you can see it kind of looks like a bag. Only problem is that the bottom is still open. So I'm gonna hide this end as well. As you flip it inside out, make sure your bag is lined up properly. And then you should join at the top here with your yarn. And what you should do is chain 1 and slip stitch across the top of the bag. Doesn't really matter how much you grab, but if you grab a ton of yarn, not a ton, but if you grab a good chunk when you turn it back inside out, it's going to be flat. But I'm going to grab as little as possible at the top. Just the chain, if I can. Slip stitching all the way across. So I've slip stitched all the way across. I'm going to chain 1. I'm actually going to chain a few just so that I can flip it inside out and look at it without my stitching coming undone. So flip it back, right side out. And it looks exactly like the one I showed you. That obviously shrinks your bag down a little bit. If you don't want it to be kind of boxy at the bottom, what you can do instead is, instead of flipping it inside out and sewing, you could just fold the bottom together and whip stitch. Kind of like how we sewed the strap on. Just sew across the bottom. Although that probably won't leave, this is a little bit of a more thick, secure bottom than if you do it where you just kind of sew it across, back and forth. I'm going to do it this way, have a little bit of a boxy look. I think I like it. So I'm going to go ahead and flip it back inside out, and I'm going to hide the rest of the ends of the bag. So this is the bag, all finished before it is lined or anything. So fuzz on it. So here is the finished bag. That's what it looks like with the strap. Like I said, I am going to line this one, I think, just because this one is gifting to a friend. I want to make sure that it doesn't stretch or anything on her. I am going to briefly show you how I do that, but if you're just crocheting it, this is the end. I hope you love your bag. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a piece of fabric that is as long as the strap, and I'm going to leave about a ½ inch on either side. I'm also going to leave a little bit extra, so I'm going to cut it as long as the strap plus a couple inches. And then for the bag, I'm going to cut it so that it is a little bit wider than the box itself, leaving a little bit of seam allowance on each side. And I'm going to cut that out too. just roughly, so that I can get rid of all of this. As you can see, there's just a tiny little bit on each side. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up the bottom fold with the bottom of the bag. And there should be a little bit on the top too. And I'm going to center it. I'm going to mark where I need to sew. So just like that. Alright, I'm going to use this giant ruler to create the first line. There's my straight line. And then I'm going to figure out how big this strap is. 1.5 inches. And so I'm going to mark 1.5 inches at various spots all the way down this. I'm going to line up my ruler and try to get it to go through all of the marks. There we go. And then I'll draw my line, and it should be pretty good. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw about 1/2 inch out from there and cut it 1/2 inch all the way down that line. I'm going to cut 1/2 inch on either side. Okay, now I'm going to start my iron. I'm going to fold over this line. So I'm going to iron right along the line, both of them towards the inside. And it should be the same width as your strap. Should lay flat right along the inside. So now the next thing we need to do is take our original piece and sew down the sides, and then make sure it fits in our bag. So after I sewed it down the sides, I folded it at the top so that it is about the same height as the bag, and then I'm going to shove it inside the bag and line it up how I want it to look. So, and then I'm going to pin it down, but I'm going to leave the corners open. And then I'm also going to take my strap and I'm going to pin it along the inside, but I'm going to leave a little bit of it to extend down between the lining and the crochet, so that when we sew the bag on, it's pretty seamless. So first I'm going to sew the strap from here all the way around. Alright, so I'm going to start. I've pinned the strap. Now that you have sewn the strap, you're going to want to pin in the lining of the bag so that it's evenly spaced, and then you're going to want to sew around the top of the bag. And that will finish lining the bag. Alright you guys, so here is the finished bag, and it's all lined. Honestly, I am really happy with how I lined it. I love it. I'm pretty pleased with myself. Sometimes I do good, sometimes I do not so good. But it's all done. It's lined, so when stuff gets put in it, it doesn't stretch at all. Yes! If you guys like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you'd like. If you make this bag, please tag me on Instagram or on TikTok because I would love to see them. And thank you so much for watching.